Workshop meeting in Windsor Heights City Council. Call to order. Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Nick Lafredo.
Here.
Mike Jones.
Here.
And Teresa Harms.
Here.
Dennis, do you want to run this?
Sure will. Travis has an outline that if he could put that up on the screen, we'll kind of follow that as we go this evening. And I hope not to spend more than an hour on this part of the process, and I'll explain that to you as we get into it.
You guys see that?
Yes.
Thank you, Travis. Okay, this has been a very beneficial exercise for me preparing for this discussion starting this evening, because it caused me to kind of dig into your past a bit and see how the city has done strategic planning and goal setting in the past few years. And, you know, one thing I did discover was that there doesn't seem to be a consistent process. So as we start moving down this way to creating goals and objectives or standards or a vision statement, I'm trying to avoid changing the way the city does business just for the sake of change. So all cities do things a little differently. If the council has done it a certain way in the past that works and that you like, I want to keep that momentum going in that direction. If not, and you're open to new ways of doing things, then we can also work through that starting this evening as well. So I like to keep things simple. It makes things easier when communicating the vision of the council to the community, and it also leaves less chance for misunderstanding by staff and other council members. So with that said, I'd like to accomplish a few things this evening. The first thing is to review some information from the past to understand where the city was and is today. I'm hopeful that we can reach some consensus on this. The second step, I'm also hopeful that we can discuss what the council hopes to get out of an agreed upon goals and objectives document. At its very base, the goals and objectives kind of serve as the guidepost for putting together our budget. It gives the staff direction on what are important to you and the community as we put the spending plan together for next year. And then finally, if it would be great tonight if we could conclude our work with an agreement on a set list of focus areas that I and the staff can turn into easily understandable vision concepts. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay, but we can at least get started on it. So to start this presentation off,
Dennis, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
That number 2 on the screen right now, I'm not sure what that is. I mean, I know what it says, but how are we doing that?
It's funny you asked, I was about to get to that.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay. So to start off, we'd like to talk about the benefits of goal setting. And you can see I have a brief listing that I just threw up there. There are 5 items. It establishes a guidepost for developing the annual budget, which I've mentioned once. It creates a method by which a city organization can measure success and accountability. So you're basically going to be setting the bar for myself and the staff to meet your expectations by the end of the fiscal year. And when we get to the fiscal year, we will be doing a review and showing what we were successful at, what we might do differently in the following fiscal year. And we can take a measure as we start to put goals and objectives together for the following year. The third item is it provides for long-term planning. Many days in city government, you come in the morning and you have a list of items that you have to take care of for that day. This is a way the council can say, we're thinking more than just today or next month. We're thinking about the entire fiscal year and even beyond that in some cases. It also communicates the shared vision of city leaders to the citizens they serve. This is one way that the council can tell the community, here's what our vision for this community is. If you have comment on that vision, please offer it. But also this is how we're going to structure our spending plan for next year and our projects. And then it also offers a structure and direction for the organization, which may sound a little duplicative and redundant, but it's something that is very desired by the staff so that we have very set about goals and the bar is right there for us to aim at. The objectives in turn basically serve the goals. They are specific initiatives that will be undertaken in pursuit of a single goal they're short-term in nature, that are not normally more than a year. And it includes specific action to be taken, such as replace aging public safety vehicles or complete a flood mitigation plan, those types of things. So Travis, if you can go to the next page. This is the mission statement that's on page 81 of your packet. It was included in a goal setting from 2017. And this, when I read it, seems to me to speak out to provide some of the basis for your goals to begin with, in terms of safe environment, exceptional city services, team-oriented and fiscally responsible approach, as well as a sustainable, vibrant community. So this vision statement, mission statement, is the basis for what the council is going to do to put together their goals and objectives, and what's going to really be our guiding light for the coming year. Next slide, please, Travis. You know, and I was really grateful and happy to find this in the file folder, and that's a survey that the city did, a community survey back in 2017. And I just wanted to throw out some of the highlights from that document so that we could review them and remind you and refresh you what it said. But on page 38 of the presentation that was included in your packet, it shows that most citizens, I'm going to count that 80% or more, are satisfied or very satisfied with garbage service, park facilities, recycling services, snow removal, water service, policing services, yard waste services, and fire protection services. So that means these areas of expertise are on the right track, moving in the right direction. On page 40 of the presentation, it shows the highest level of dissatisfaction, and that was by far street repair. So it seems that there is work to be done in the area of street maintenance and street investment. Now, given this survey was done 3 years ago, and a lot has been done in terms of street maintenance, there still is a lot to go, a lot more to do. The other dissatisfied categories that were mentioned were business development, redevelopment, planning and zoning, nuisance abatement, and stormwater drainage, but they were nowhere near as popular as the street repair item. The top priorities included in the survey for capital investment were streets, obviously, residential and major streets, sanitary sewer, stormwater, and water. And the lower priorities from that survey were sidewalks, Colby Park amenities, and the Bike Hub project. So the next slide, please, Travis. So other documents that were available to me from the past that I took the chance to read through and garner some information from was the Summary Report Goal Setting 2017 that was included in your packet for your refresher and renewal. And then also the City of Windsor Heights Leadership Term Team Goals and Action Plan, which is available on the city's website right now. And you can see I've tried to summarize some of the goals from that 2018-20 Goals and Action Plan. Goal 1, citywide stormwater review. Goal 2, there were three-way tie for Goal 2, the bike trail hub, tobacco-free healthy city policy, and create a development plan for possible redevelopment of flood districts and financial programs to support. And then 2 other issues were tied at Goal 5, develop neighborhood preservation enhancement program, the neighborhood finance corporation program in Metro Home, and possibly, I can't see behind some of these, the mayor's face is right in the middle. Reviewing the neighborhood finance program and create our own, create incentive programs for owner-occupied home renovation. And then the final one was to revise the CIP to prioritize the resurfacing, reconstruction of streets over bike trails and parking lot repairs. So this is just a reminder for what was put together as a plan back in 2018 for 2018-20. Travis, you can move one more page.
Hey, Dennis, I think we've done the stormwater study.
Yes, a lot has been accomplished, correct. So I took a stab at putting together just 7 points to start with. And you can see number 1 is safe community, 2 is exceptional city services, 3 is conservative fiscal policies, 4 is to create high functioning city team, 5 is to build a unique and sustainably vibrant community. 6 is comprehensive economic development strategy. And 7 is a plan and invest in city infrastructure. And then just below it, an example of how to structure your goal and objectives for this exercise. So this is just the beginning. And this is so that we have something to work from, either taking away, adding, completely scrapping it and starting over, or modifying these with your discussion this evening. And then Travis, if you can move the last page, please. This is my timetable for completing the goals and objectives. This is a tentative timetable so that please feel flexible enough to do what you want to do. October 19th, that's tonight, to discuss and develop the draft list of focus areas. October 20th through the 23rd, the staff will develop goal headings and possible objectives, a draft for you to consider on October 26th. We will send that to you. And then at November 2nd, another work session, the council will review the draft goals and objectives list for adoption in December. And then on December 7th, my hope would be that the council will be ready to finalize and adopt your 2020-21 goals and objectives. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I would like to turn it back over to you and foster some kind of discussion on the draft list that we started earlier.
Dennis, are we looking at 1 year length goals to be achieved after 1 year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dennis, do you see that?
Go ahead, Therese.
No, my question was, do you see us at some point creating a longer term or you would just be envisioning 1 year at a time?
No, there might be some issues that come up that are longer term. In fact, most often than not, the goals that you put together are very long term and would continue from fiscal year to fiscal year. It would be the objectives below those goals that would change from year to year because you would accomplish things and take them off your radar screen.
Got it. Thank you.
Dennis, I was not, did not have a particular list, so if you want to interject or go from there, that's fine. I had sent you a list of about 6 items to potentially be touched on within, between now and the first of the year. As far as from my standpoint, I'd like to get taken care of because these have been hanging over for a while.
Dave, you sent it to the council members?
No, I did not. I just got it done this afternoon. And I sent it off to Dennis.
Okay.
Dennis, can you have Travis put the list back up there that you proposed so we can see that again?
Yeah. Travis, are you there?
Thank you.
Yep, there we go. Thank you. So my request would be, instead of trying to wordsmith these goals tonight, it would be efficient for the council to agree on focus areas like safe community and exceptional city services. And if you can do that, then staff and I can wordsmith those with Whitney's help. We can wordsmith those into, well-read goals for you to consider for approval at your next work session.
What does that mean? I don't know what safe community means.
That means you desire to make a safe community for Windsor Heights.
Well, is that something needs to be addressed? Do we have a sudden spike in crime?
Well, safe community can go beyond crime. It can go to clean air. It can go to clean water. It can go to well-engineered transportation routes, pedestrian routes, protected bus stop routes. lighting in your downtown corridor. It encompasses a lot of things, but what it does say when you make the statement is that you want to make and sustain Windsor Heights as a safe community.
Yeah, and I think that would be a longer term goal, Dennis. And then the objectives under that may be accomplished by the first year, the second year, or third year, and so forth.
Sure.
Well, discussing something I think maybe a little less abstract. One of the ongoing issues that we've had since we're sort of at the end of the time frame is the updating and getting a new capital improvement program. I think that there are some issues in the code specifically related to nuisance abatement. Our code is very outdated. I think that there's some programs looking at potentially sidewalk repair programs. I guess that could fit into the CIP. I think those are things that I'm interested in. I think tangible things that should be addressed immediately, in my opinion.
Mike, just to kind of piggyback on that, I think what the information is here from the public, and we've kind of said it this way, that plan and invest in city infrastructure. It's been neglected too long. And so we have major things going on now. We've bonded, about a little over $16 million to handle this go round. We know that 73rd is terrible, which I think that we've estimated it to be 10 million or more. And the sewers, we know, we did the study, and it wasn't even a complete study that, and Dalton, maybe you can help me out, but it was like, oh Christ, it was like 16 million too, just for that. So anyway, to me, that's by far the greatest need right now.
So Dennis, you're asking us to to identify these 1 through 7s and whether or not those are categories. I think what I just heard was those would be items that would fit in these categories. Is that how you would envision it?
I would interpret that, with the exception maybe of updating the city code.
That
That
might
could
fall
fall
under
under number
the city
5.
services too.
Yeah.
I think we can a couple council members can offer a recommendation for upgrading the city code that we can bring for discussion at some point.
Yes, I think if the council makes that a goal, it would easily fit under number 5, build a unique and sustainably vibrant community, because your updated code would be basically lining up with the times and also reflecting the priorities for, I don't know, beautiful neighborhoods, people taking care of their properties, and how that should be enforced by the city.
Mike Jones has previously done an analysis of our code versus the other city codes in our surrounding cities. He did really a nice job, because there is some duplicity going on, and some are redundant. And so he's created a recommendation to clean that up. I think we'll get to that soon.
Yes, another example, one that's more recent for us as staff, one that I've learned about, is the city sign code is restrictive and limits a business to 150 square foot sign. And when you have a number of developments down by the Sam's Club, where there are 9 or 10 businesses all in the same building, then that's a very restrictive code that has to be addressed, I think, in the coming weeks. So I think that's just an example. And I think if you go through the code, as Mike is suggesting, you probably could find a number of things that we could update and bring to the council for changing.
Dennis, are you talking about Apple Valley as the businesses?
That's one of them. Sherwood
what-
Forest is another one.
What is it?
Sherwood Forest is another one.
Okay, it's at the, okay, it's that at the other end, yeah.
Both of them. And we're also running into that right now because Walmart has come to us about updating their signage on the front of the building. And so we want to make sure that the sign code is up to date and current with what we have in our community.
Good suggestion.
So I would ask the council tonight, if you've had a chance to think about these 7 points, do these 7 points, are they acceptable to you? Is there something that's missing that you would want to throw out there that we could add and make an 8th or 9th point?
So Dennis, when I first looked at these, when I read create a high functioning city team, I think I initially thought of city staff. And then I was like, okay, where is your elected leadership in this? But I think that probably fits there. Is that your vision too?
Yes, and include the volunteer boards like the planning and zoning and
Okay.
I don't know where, would you maybe put it in 5? I don't know, diversity and inclusion. That could also maybe be its own one.
yeah, I suggest you make that number 8, diverse and inclusive community.
Dennis, under number 5, I would suggest one of the goals is, and I've said this many times, being the aged senior member of this council, is that I've talked to 2 or 3 residents that have to sell, that they did sell their house because we didn't have, they wanted to stay in Windsor Heights, but we didn't have any housing available for 55 and older folks. The one on 63rd Street is pretty well filled, and it does fill rapidly if there's a vacancy. And I think the one on Hickman is filled too. There's not a lot of units, total of about 100 between the two. So that's one thing that I think should be under that to make it a unique and sustainable, vibrant community, is not to lose those people that have lived here almost all their lives.
I just made a note for senior housing.
Okay.
One of the other that I don't see here, that again, you don't have to always have all of the words. I just want to make sure that we either think that they can fit in one of these places or another. But I think about workforce, I think about technology, and I think about education. And I think those are key words that are consistent, that are synonymous over time. And so just thinking about whether or not either if they need to be separate pieces or if they fit in one of these other places.
Well, you know, Teresa, I think that it could go either way, but if I was trying to pick one of these, I would say it fits well under a comprehensive economic development strategy.
Okay. I definitely could see workforce there. Okay.
I'm just throwing those out there. If you disagree and you want to separate it out, some things are important enough that you want to give it its own goal and set of objectives.
Now we're talking about 1-year goals here.
No, we're talking about categories right now, and then 1-year goals would go underneath of them.
Okay, so the goals, like I indicated, senior housing, and Mike Jones offered one about diversity. Those are 1-year goals, objectives.
Those are objectives.
Diversity and inclusive community. Let's use that as an example Mike threw out. I don't think there's an end point to that.
No, there's not.
You're not going to decide not to be diverse anymore, but the objectives that support that goal will be in place for 1 year so that you can achieve that goal. Help you. There'll be smaller tasks. At the end of the year, you may want to do those tasks again next year, or you may say, that's enough for us. We don't need to do that one. Let's do this one. Let's do something different. That's how this goal and objectives outline fits together.
Yeah, the diverse population is becoming more and more prevalent, and there's language barriers, and so those things need to be addressed. Therese, I agree with you 100%. Or whoever offered that, Mike.
Well, if there aren't any more questions or suggestions, and there's general consensus that the 8 points that we've discussed tonight are good to go, then staff after tonight is going to work at putting some other descriptors around those focus areas and give you some really descriptive goals that you can wordsmith at your next work session and then hopefully adopt in December. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah, I'll be
Good
interested
plan.
to see the objectives under number 2. That's assuming, I guess, that we don't have exceptional city services. But conservative fiscal policies, yeah, I'll be interested to see what the objectives are under those.
Okay, thank you for this discussion this evening. It's been very valuable in moving this forward. I appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, folks.
Do we need to vote on the adjournment, Dave, or not?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Susan Skerrys,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Dave.